Lady that needs actually very little introduction.
Very true.
We will give her an introduction nonetheless. She is twice the giant killer.
Yes.
And is the Vice President of Parti Keadilan Rakyat. Please welcome the MP for Lemah Pantai, YB Nurul Izzah.
Terima kasih. Sorry Siva, I pinjam your phone, I decline your call. Pengacara majlis, Saudara Fahmi dan juga Cik Farhana atau saya panggil kumpulan Fafa. Hari ini penampilan istimewa kerana memakai baju peguam ya. Fahmi bukan peguam, jangan guna perkhidmatan beliau. Yang saya kasihi Cik Cynthia Gabriel yang bergelar puan, walaupun pertama kali saya menatap wajah beliau masih lagi bergelar cik, samalah seperti saya. Cik Nalini dan seluruh tim pasukan Suaram, Saudara Zunar bersama dengan kumpulan kartunis independen sebenarnya yang membantu memenangkan saya di Lembah Pantai kerana ramai ahli-ahli UMNO takut dengan hantu beliau. Para peguam yang bersama Saudara Amerik, YBC Barasa, Rasaya, seluruh teman-teman yang hadir pada malam ini, Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera, salam Suaram. Saya pertamanya ingin mengucapkan terima kasih. I would like to extend a huge thank you to Suaram especially for forcing me to come tonight, especially Cynthia. And do you know what they did? They made sure before I spoke, they placed that donation box right in front of me. You know? With that knowing look, you know what to do. And I always answer, I have to give less than YBC Barasa Rasyah. Because in Wilayah Persekutuan, we are still under BN. We won this time around 9 out of 11 seats. But of course, with many petitions taking place, I'm not sure what the tally will be at the end of the next month or so. But again, I think we are here tonight and we should feel very spirited, we should feel very thankful. I think for Suaram's purposes, it has been in existence since I was 9 years old, 1989. And I have a secret that I will disclose to all of you tonight. Suaram, the birthplace was at YBC Barasa's house. So you see, oh can I couldn't, oh that's not under OSA surely. We have so many things in Malaysia under the Official Secrets Act. The birth of Suaram's cannot be one of them. So certainly tonight, I think you have heard the various issues with regards to the investigations, and one of the things that we should be thankful about is how far Suaram has come. I think how consistent and how committed they have been. I remembered when we were part of the Reformasi movement in 1999, you must remember not many groups were brave enough to come forward and fight not only for the release of Dato' Seri Anwar Ibrahim, but for the release of political prisoners everywhere. And Suaram was notable in its sincerity and determination. And now, while some of the less, discerning ones might ask, why Scorpene? Kenapa Suaram nak sibuk-sibuk bantu siasat satu kes berkait dengan bukan saja pembunuhan tetapi pembelian kapal selam dengan komisen 500 juta ringgit. Dan saya sebut pada malam ini tuan-tuan perempuan, kerana apa? Kerana inilah suara yang sebenar yang mewakili kuasa ketiga dalam negara kita. Di Malaysia ini orang kata demokrasi tempang. And I will tell you what is the bigger problem. What is the main problem with regards to a flawed democracy? It is because we, the Malaysian taxpayers, do not have access to government procurement. We don't have an accountable government. We don't have details with regards to, are they buying the best arsenals? Are they buying the best equipment to ensure Selat Melaka is safe? Do you really think the 2 submarines will solve the problem of piracy in the Malacca Straits? Is there any independent assessment made to convince Malaysians after the 2 submarines have been bought that the number of pirates have been reduced over the past couple of years. You know, in any other country for that matter, this is normal, a normal process to justify the procurement of huge assets, especially with regards to something like the submarine. I think the total cost has cost Malaysians about 7 to 8 billion ringgit. Now, dalam sesi parlimen yang terakhir sebelum pilihan raya, saya sempat membawa ucapan penangguhan. Bagi mereka yang tahu, di parlimen kita, walaupun kita tidak punyai sistem parlimen demokrasi yang memberi kita nikmat dan kepuasan, because usually you never hear the private members' bills, you never hear any real answers being given by the ministers, and of course you have joker after jokers being the Minister of the Parliamentary Affairs. Now, because of that, many people don't really believe in the parliament as an institution of democracy. However, we brought up the issue of the submarine procurement. And dalam ucapan penangguhanlah saya bawakan isu ini khusus tentang bagaimanakah kerajaan Malaysia, apakah langkah-langkah yang kerajaan Malaysia sedang ambil untuk memastikan dokumen-dokumen sulit seperti yang didedahkan dalam kes Scorpene ini, khusus dari segi the evaluation of particular submarines. You see, Malaysian government, you see, our defence forces will definitely do an evaluation process. Now that paper can never fall in the hands of contractors, whether it is the French contractor, whether it is the German, because it will leave us in a situation where we are defenseless. Dan bila dah keluar dokumen itu, tentu saya tanya pada menteri, mantan Menteri Pertahanan, sekarang Menteri Dalam Negeri. We have a very nice game of musical chairs taking place under Dr. Sri Najib Tun Razak. When once you do not perform as Defence Minister, don't worry, you can always be replaced as the Home Affairs Minister the next round. And this is the problem in Malaysia. However, the notable thing is, the Minister of Defence at the time was very concerned. He was very concerned because whatever it may be, we are highlighting an issue with regards to documents that are leaked from our defence forces, and he is forced to answer in Parliament. Now you might question, you might feel disheartened, oh my goodness, the answer. What kind of answer is this? Does it, pass the test of real democracy? It might not, it might be terrible, it might be covered in utusan in a biased and prejudiced manner, but the point is, we have managed to catch the attention of the world and also Malaysians. People now know and understand and look at the procurement of submarines very seriously. So I'm not disheartened because every single time I feel that it is difficult, it is challenging. I just look at the people who are manning Suaram, the many people who have been there since the 1980s, and you really get the sense that if they can persevere when the chips are down, when there's hardly 20 people in support of human rights and political and civil liberties in this country, now you have many, many more who are in support of such initiatives. And because of that, we must always remain thankful and understand we have to work harder towards the future. The other issue I want to mention is, of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you talk about corruption itself, right now there's a lot of issues affecting the country. I was instructed by Nalini to update you on the petitions and of course the suit against the EC with regards to indelible ink. And that's why I felt very encouraged, because at the beginning when we decided to sue the EC on the indelible ink, we thought there's not sufficient evidence. It's very difficult. How? You don't know who the supplier is. You don't know for sure whether it's 2%, 3% or 7% silver nitrate in the indelible ink. And you don't know whether the police reports, which have cost some soldiers and their future to be at stake. Remember, in Lumut, some of them were transferred. These brave soldiers, these brave wives of military men, who lodged police reports because the ink could be removed. So we were not convinced However, I think Tommy Thomas, all kudos to him because he's been working very hard to compile enough and sufficient evidence. And before you know it, because there's so much pressure, through Parliament, we could prove, through parliamentary Hansard, through parliamentary answers, through the fact that we have a joker as a Minister for Parliamentary Affairs, the percentage for silver nitrate was reduced from 7 to finally 2 to 1%. And some, in some instances, he declared that it was akin to food colouring. And this is important because it's not about what the opposition says. It is not about what Suaram says. It is what was proven and stated in Parliament. And that in itself proves our claims that the EC failed to dispense its duties, has committed fraud, possibly criminal wrongdoing, by not implementing the indelible ink carefully. So the suit, of course, will proceed. It might be rejected by the judge, but the point is, we have made history again. All over the world, any democracy in the world, no issues, no controversy with regards to indelible ink. In India, it doesn't just last for a month. No, not sufficient for India standards. It lasted for 3 months. But Malaysia, of course, we have to have the spirit of Malaysia boleh. We tried 7 days. But for some, even 7 minutes was not sufficient. And it could be washed off. Because a lot of Malaysians are very spirited. They wanted to prove that the Election Commission is wrong. And because of this, we have a very strong case against them. So, whatever it is, tonight, we really should celebrate the fact that we have groups like Suaram and like you, all here tonight, coming together in support for a better Malaysia, coming together in support of good governance, and coming together to ensure not only today, not only yesterday, not only tomorrow and the day after and the year after, we will continue to shame Barisan Nasional and prove to the rest of the world how pathetic they really are. This is important because before you win elections, you must prove you are the better alternative. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think that is why there's so much to celebrate. And I would just add on, today one of the major news that really caught my attention was the fact that there's a new group, Gabungan Bertindak Anti-TPPA. Suaram, you know what TPPA is, right? You always teach me to understand these things. So basically, Perjanjian Trans-Pasifik, Perjanjian Perdagangan Trans-Pasifik, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement. This is perhaps the biggest, the hugest free trade agreement to hit Malaysia and to hit the region. You have 12 countries participating, Japan the latest, and surprise, surprise, we members of parliament know nothing of the negotiating positions. You see, I must tell you, there is a continuing link between the Scorpene case with whatever's happening in Malaysia today. When did we first hear the term project delivery partner? Perimeka. Perimeka is supposed to train, etc., for the amount of 500 million, even though they did not have any expertise in such matters. Fast forward till today, you have MRT, the Mass Rapid Transit Project, the biggest, one of the biggest infrastructure project to hit Malaysia as well. 40 billion ringgit. It might increase because, like inflation. The prices of steel, the prices of many things always increase in Malaysia. We must understand and believe the government. So 40 billion ringgit as of now, as of perhaps last month, and before you know it, we also have a project delivery partner. Before, for Scorpene, Perimeka. For MRT, it's called MMC Gamuda. See? So beautiful, all these terms, I wish I was also a project delivery partner. Then maybe I can get a couple of $1 million to help me fund the elections. And maybe then Pakatan has a real chance at winning. Anyhow, my point being, it's important because it goes back to good governance, anti-corruption, it goes back to transparency. So now that Malaysia, we want greater competitiveness, fine. We love free trade, fine. But no one really knows what are the binding agreements, the 29 chapters that are included. It's not even a free trade per se. It is allowing other governments, other companies, the power to be on equal footing with our government when it comes to arbitration or it comes to disputes. You know, that is the biggest problem facing us today. So finally, in Parliament, I just want to tell you, YB Charles Santiago has been, up to 3 years ago, consistently pushing for greater disclosure. What will happen to the price of rice versus American products? What will happen to pharmaceuticals? What will happen to the cost of generic drugs post-signing TTIP-PPA? You see, all these things have to be answered. At least we know we are ready. To say that we are completely against it, fine. We just want to know and we want to understand what is the impact going to be on Malaysian economy. So nothing, but we do have a caucus. A caucus is a loose grouping when BN feels like grouping everyone together. So before you have a parliamentary select committee, you have a caucus. So I'm going, YB Wong Chen, Kelana Jaya is also joining, YB Charles Santiago, YB Jaya Kumar, and of course, majority from Barisan Nasional. It's always like that. The head has to be from BN, you see, sometimes secretary, and also the BN MPs have to outnumber the Pakatan MPs. But having said that, don't you worry, because we have Suaram, and as I mentioned earlier, today, Gabungan Bertindak TPPA, anti-TPPA, came together and grouped 200 to 300 Malaysians against the TPPA, against the fact that we don't have sufficient disclosure, and demonstrated in front of MITI, you see, the Ministry of Trade. So I think it is amazing to see so many voices emerge in Malaysia, so many voices concerned about the future of this country, and so many voices, all these voices, ladies and gentlemen, must unite. I mean, regardless what happens, regardless how many hawkish, ridiculous and unfair dispensation of the law takes place, we must remember one thing: we have one another. We have shared histories. We have the fact that we are going to work very hard to improve the future of this country, and no bigot, no stupid, idiotic, corrupt leader will take us away from that initiative and that struggle. So with that, I can see Cynthia giving me some looks. I shall end my speech soon. We have Datuk Teng Chang Kim also here. I don't know if you will be allowed to speak. Siva is not being allowed to speak. Always happens, you know how NGOs are. So ladies and gentlemen, take good care. Thank you very much again, Suaram. And again, to Zuna. Yeah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much. Good night.